Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to introduce you to Virtonomy and how we accelerate medical device development using virtual patient twins. There are many medical device developers here, and we've learned all day that the biggest challenge for them, and they all share the same challenge in there, that is the immense cost to bring these devices to market, what can exceed $100 million, and also can take over 10 years, what is a lot in this whole process. Still, at the same time, many of these medical device developers fail in the process, and only less than 20% make it to the regulatory approval. And it's not getting easier with new regulations like MDR, but also coming from the FDA. This is even increasing the demand and the challenges there. The conventional process to bring the device to the market to testers are on the one hand in vitro test, benchtop testing, on the other hand in vivo testing like with animals in human trials. In the last years, a fourth pillar has emerged, the so-called in silico testing. In silico, because everything here is coming from the computer, with computer simulations and computer testing. And this is now accepted by FDA, but also globally by regulators. And the FDA is even predicting that within the next years, over 40% of the regulatory process will come from virtual patients and simulations. And this is how it looks like. So the conventional process goes from the concept over bench testing, prototyping, bench testing, animal testing, cadaver studies, until after many years and with high cost, for the first time the device is tested in human being. When you fail here, you have to go back to the concept. With our approach, it's possible to test the device early on, even before prototyping, using these virtual patients and simulations. And then also to substitute, eventually replace experimental testing and animal testing, and to refine and expand the clinical trials. Imagine that you're testing your device not just with 50 patients, but with hundreds or thousands of virtual patients. By that, we can significantly reduce cost, time, and especially also risk to fail in the process to ensure the quality and also then the safety of the device, even before the clinical trials and then also after that. And we can also close the disparity gap of underrepresented populations, like for example women, children, rare disease, and ethnic groups that are still underrepresented in R&D and clinical trials. Our solution is called vPatients, and it's an end-to-end solution where we combine digital patient twins with artificial intelligence, multi-physics simulation, and also predictive analytics. Here we can include this in silico technology in the total product life cycle of the medical device development and beyond. And then by that, save animals and humans by using our digital twins that are based on thousands of humans and animal patients. Here we have created a huge diversity in this. So relating to the cardiovascular domain, relating to the pathology, we are addressing heart failure patients, but also all kinds of heart valve diseases like mitral valve disease, tricuspid valve disease, also different ethnic groups. Data is coming from Europe, but also North America and Asia. Different age groups, like we have pediatric data, but also adults and geriatric data, and different animals. So we have also in our database animals like sheep, calf, and pigs that you can use then to test your device in there to find the right animal type, but also transition from the animal to the human being. In the first stage, in our base aspects of the license, you can then test and virtually implant your device in the target population that is based then on this database. In the second part, you can perform a statistical population analysis to, for example, look for inclusion-exclusion criteria, eligibility criteria, risk case assessment, to then identify how does your population look like. For example, also cluster male-female patients and analyze this. Further on, you can then also test the device tissue-blood interaction by performing simulations, mechanical simulations, fluid dynamic simulations, but also electrophysics simulations, and eventually create a report that can then be submitted as so-called in silico evidence to the regulatory bodies that is then used for the assessment of safety and performance on this. And this is how it looks like. So the first stage, you can then select your patient. For example, here it's a 79 kilogram patient, male, and then you can assess this three-dimensionally. So you can see the anatomy in this. You can also then make specific parts transparent to investigate, for example, the lung or the heart parts in this. Here a cannula is placed in, so you can then find the proper position of this, the proper angle of that. It's an outflow cannula. You can investigate this also from different angles in the patient, as you can see here. Once you have then found the proper location of this. You can then have the setup of the simulation, so in very easy to use environment, define the material properties of the device, but also surroundings of the tissue, of calcification grades, boundary conditions like the fluid velocity rates, the outflow, and so on. Then start the simulation on the server that is run in the cloud, and once it's ready, you get the results and can directly investigate and hear the results in the web browser and use an easy-to-use environment in that. Other applications that we have are coming from total artificial hearts or ventricular assist device. We can also identify then the virtual implantation of these patients in heart failure patients. We also address artificial hearts, artificial heart valves. For example, here, as you can see, the crimping of the stent and implantation in the vessel wall, and then also the blood interaction with the vessel leaflets to investigate hemodynamic effects like thrombus formation, hemolysis, and so on. To investigate here also different design parameters and also see then the safety of the device. Others are also electrophysics simulation, for example here with a two-chamber heart model for investigating the pacemakers or how's the dynamics of the heart movement on the device and vice versa to see here also durability issues. We have also integrated a complete virtual reality environment that you can use to analyze this in detail in a stereoscopic environment, also to share this then together with clinicians and have this in a collaborative environment and work together in this virtual reality setting. We are also currently expanding from the cardiovascular domain to the orthopedics domain to investigate then also artificial joints or spinal and other aspects that's relating to this. The feedback that we got proved that the outcome of this has significant benefit for the customers. On the one hand, to speed up the process, reduce the resources on the whole setups and the whole aspects, but also to give input that is not possible with conventional approaches. What was key for them to advance forward, to reach the next milestone, and by that also to reduce the risk to fail in the process. And data from our software were already accepted by the FDA in Europe, but also in Japan in the submission process. We get also more and more visibility. We are now recognized as one of the leaders in this digital patient twin frontier. For example, had featured in the Boston Consulting Group article about BCG, about digital twins. Then also mentioned by Rock Health next to Siemens Healthineers, and also recently by Forbes in an article about digital twins. But we're not stopping here. During the seed phase, we have achieved our software, released the software, and have now 10 paying customers on our platform. Our first focus was the cardiovascular domain. Now we are advancing to the orthopedics domain, beyond that to the dental neurosurgery domain. On the other hand, we are also expanding to clinical applications to use this for clinical decision support and also then for post-market surveillance once the device is on the market. Already with our first product, we are addressing a huge market of 4.4 billion with the R&D, the non-animal alternatives, and the in silico trials. With the clinical trial domain and the clinical education, we are then we are adding a market of 2.5 billion and more than 5 billion in the clinical decision domain. Last year, we raised our seed round with 1.75 million with 4 venture capital companies, and we are currently in the process of raising our 5 million Series A to scale up the market, expand to different domains, and by that become market leader in the in silico clinical trials domain. All this is only possible with a top team where we're combining long-lasting experience in the medical device industry, in the sales process, but also web deployment, simulation, data, and AI. And we are also supported by advisors from the business side and from the clinical side. Thank you very much.